Minister, I think it will be no surprise to you to note that your response to our motion has undoubtedly added to the pain and the trauma of the survivors of these institutions. And your response is completely and utterly unacceptable to this side of the House, because it can be summed up twofold. The first being, this is an incredibly complicated process which needs loads of time to work out, and the second thing, as we're great and we're dealing with it. That's what it can be summed up as. We hear a bit of backslapping going on about how you're demonstrating great leadership in terms of dealing with this issue, how you've responded thoroughly and decisively to the issue of the illegal adoptions and so on. And that tells me two things. It tells me that the department are maybe trying to silence you or give you platitudes on it or something, but what it is very much a cover for inactivity. That's what it is, because we wouldn't be putting this motion here if everything was going great, because we're putting it here on behalf of the people who survived this. They know how complicated their lives are, and they know what the solution is. And you say in your answer, in your speech, you said the second interim report dealt with some of the issues raised by the deputies in their motion. Precisely why we have the motion. That was almost 3 years ago. It's not just us calling for redress. The second interim report that you've said you want to listen to have already said you should be doing this. And for the government to turn around and rehash the collaborative forum's demand for a health and well-being programme, for a proper system of memorialisation and so on, as if it's something wonderful that she thought of. You look into that. For these people, you've been looking into it for years, and there is no impediment whatsoever as to why a redress scheme cannot be put in place now. In fact, your failure to deal with it is a re-traumatisation of the pig bill there. You say in your response, since the work commenced, there's been call for redress. Some believe they were unfairly excluded from the schemes and do not see it as necessary that the present Commission completes its work. The Commission itself believes that they were unfairly excluded. They've already said that the Bethany homes, for example, have an incredibly strong case for inclusion. So they have actually completed that part and said Bethany homes should have been included, and they've also said redress should be brought in. Now, the purpose of our motion is not to get a sort of another rehash of how complicated the whole thing is, but it's to get action on that area. And to hide behind and to talk about previous financial redress schemes being complex to administer and costly and difficult for the applicants, I think is incredibly disrespectful for those people, as if it's just about money and as if they wouldn't understand it anyway and that we're making it hard for them. It's the same paternalistic, looking down on you type of approach that these people and their mothers were dealt with in the institutions itself. And it's actually gut-wrenching, really, to listen to it. And even in the, I suppose, remaining few days that we have before we have to vote on this, I'm really asking you to withdraw from that stance. And I'm asking Fianna Fáil to absolutely not support the government's amendment to our motion. The other key part that's missing here is the issue we dealt with in the opening remarks of the illegal adoptions. And it's a simple reality that the experience of probably tens of thousands of our citizens who were illegally adopted is not being properly investigated in any forum as we stand here. And the sampling is a sampling of 1.5% of the 100,000 records with the Adoption Authority. It's not even scratching the surface on this. So what we need to see, what we've been saying for years we need to see, is a full audit of all of the adoption files. We need a package of basic supports for the remaining survivors, which could be rolled out quite simply. It's not rocket science, it's not complex or costly in that regard, but we do need the broader issues of the illegally adopted to be included in the Commission of Investigation, because it's not going to go away. It may be the case that many of these survivors have tragically lost their lives since this commission was set up, but to delay any further is just making that situation, and I cannot understand the sort of lack of feeling to be honest, in the contributions from the government benches. And we often say nobody has a monopoly on compassion, and we all know that, and I've always been one to accept that. But what we've seen here today is a demonstrable lack of compassion, which I feel the people who survive these institutions will find in no way helpful. So please, I'm appealing to every grouping in the House to ensure that our motion is carried and that collectively we can put pressure on. But you know what? I think after listening to the arguments here, I think for those people it's a road to the United Nations, it's a road to litigation or a seeking for answers outside the state, which is a terrible indictment on this government.
Thank you.